So we pick it up where Martha Wash leaves off. Martha Wash was signed to RCA Records. The A&R person for her project was Kenny Ortiz, a New Yorker. And he's the one who had told me about these three girls he had, and that it asked me if I had any material for them. And he sent me, Federal Express me back in the day, a cassette of them, and I heard it. And when I heard Coco's voice and then all three girls' harmonies together, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like their tone, the tonalities, the blend was crazy. I'm like, you know what? I can work with this for sure. And even though Coco was all over the place with some of those records, pitch wise, I knew that if I could tame that and put it in, perspective, it could be dope. So that's how it happened, how it started.
Okay, so then how was this song great? Well, let me ask you this: what was the because you wrote this song? What was the inspiration behind creating this song?
I had no idea that I would ever put it on a girl group. So in the period between 1988 when we got dropped and 1990, I was really searching and trying to be a writer more than I was an artist. So it's just one of those songs that came to me one early morning driving in my car. That hook came to me out of the blue. And I remember exactly where I was in Sacramento when I was driving down the street. I was on San Juan and Truxell. Watch the Sacramento people be like, what? Yeah, San Juan and Truxell pulling into this apartment complex called Park City where Shantae Moore lived and I lived in this moment. And pulling in there, and that hook came to me. Now, let me tell you about when hooks come to me that I know I need to act on. There's a hook that can come to you and you be like, oh, I got to remember that. And then there's a hook that comes to you that says, no. That one is sticking. That's going to stay. This was one of the ones where it came to me and it stayed, right? So I went and created a track that I thought would work with the hook that I was hearing, that love will be right. That came to me so clear to me that I had to go make the beat for it. So I made the beat for it. And then when I did, I rode around in my car just singing that hook over and over to the beat that I had made. And shout out to my old cassettes because I just found the original cassette of that.
Oh, wow.
But I just found that recently, right? So
That's
now
crazy.
I have the exact thing that I created, the original prototype for that song in 1990. What you heard SWV doing right there, I had to recreate all that and do a different version of it in 92. 91, 90, whatever. I think it was 91, a year later when they got, signed and stuff. But my original demo sounds completely different production-wise from that.
Oh,
But it's the
wow.
same words and the same melody on top of it. So I just found it. So that's how that song happened. And I had it written before I ever knew anything about SWV. So it was just a song that I had laying around when I met them.
When you came into the picture, was it already established that Coco would be the lead singer?
I think she was already the lead singer, before I ever met them, for sure.
Okay. So
they
then,
were a group. They were a group before they got signed. They were a group trying to get a deal. So I think they got their deal based on the demo. When I demoed Weak on them, I think that was the thing that solidified them getting their deal at RCA. If I'm not mistaken.
okay. So one thing I've always been curious about, whenever I look at any boy group or girl group or a band, right? Of course you tend to have like the lead singer, and I've always wondered what sort of dynamic does that create, because it's often the lead singer that I guess shines. Put that in quotation marks because I think everybody as part of the group has a role to play, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So during your experience working with them, did you ever witness that ever becoming an issue for the other members in SWV?
I think it becomes an issue after the fact, but when you're making the records and you already know that particular voice and tone is the focal point, it's not an issue because it's already established that that's the tone and the vocal, unless each person leads as much as the other. Like, in other words, I don't know too many groups where, except like a Boyz II Men, where there's multiple leads that lead equally in the group, or Sly and the Family Stone or something like that, where vocals trade all the time. Where you know what I mean? Jackson 5 comes to mind, where it could switch from Jermaine to Michael and back and forth like that. Unless you have the hits that represent that, where that's in the hits themselves, it's harder to figure that out, because if you got one voice on all the hits, then that's the identity of that sound and group. So it can get complicated, you know?
No, for sure, for sure. And then what, to follow up on that, right? Now, during this time, right? Like I said, this song came out in 92. I've got the date right here, actually.
Yeah.
August the 20th, 92.
There you go.
I'm not gonna say how old I was then.
I love.
I was gonna say, so that during that time you had En Vogue. You also had I think TLC was around that time.
Oh, definitely. They was definitely around. They had switched up and became sexy, crazy, sexy, and cool.
Right,
And
right.
went
So
super pop, killed it.
so when you was working with SWV, right? Of course, I would assume you want to differentiate yourself from any other girl groups that's out there. When I say you, I mean SWV, and of course, you're making songs for SWV. So, to what extent did those groups play on your mind when you're creating songs for SWV, or was you just doing your thing?
Not only was I just doing my thing, it wasn't about the other groups to me. It was about me as a producer trying to establish a sound of my own, because Teddy and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and LA and Babyface had dominated the whole entire 80s. Let's just keep it 100. Those three people, those three production situations dominated the 80s, period. Teddy Riley, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and LA and Babyface. There's no question about it. So in order to break out of such incredible bodies of work from those three camps, I mean, what do you do? And even when you listen to right here, the one you just played, I'm still on Teddy's, vibe still. Like I'm still trying. We're still trying to get out of New Jack swing, or and that's apparent in that production. I'm still doing it. The break point for me as a producer was when I decided, okay, now I'm going to do something that doesn't sound like that. And that leads us to the second single, I'm So Into You, which is really their breakthrough single.
Right.
Where I intentionally decided to not have the beat swing in any kind of way that could be called New Jack Swing. It's very straight. 100% different from everything before it. And I sampled and chopped myself, my own keys. Another thing that was a break from just straight ahead playing the keys of an R&B record. I sampled myself. The MPC became a tool. It was brand new as a producer. The MPC 60 came out, and that was a godsend to people like me who were sampling and chopping things like a hip hop producer, but still able to play my own keys and play those bass lines and do what I do as a musician. But I wanted to present it in a more of a hip hop way. So I'm So Into You also represents that, in that you could hear chops and breaks and I'm So Into You.
Okay, so this is something I forgot to ask you, because you do the vocal production, you do the I guess the beat, the instrumental production, you write the song, so you do pretty much the whole thing. I just want to go a bit backwards, right? So where did songwriting start for you, and then when did making instrumental start for you, and how did they come together?
I think growing up listening to Stevie and Sly Stone and these incredible writers whose whole signature is always melody first, and lyrics, like those things were in my DNA, because I'm trying to listen to how they're putting their things together. When you talk about a song like Isn't She Lovely, that's directly related to his life, he conveyed that so brilliantly. Or Sly's Everyday People, something so simple but saying such a powerful message, right? So those are the things, those are my cues. I call those cues that says, I learned my way to write is to say as much in as little as possible. Send one your love with a dozen roses. Make sure that she knows it with a flower from your heart. Boom, 2 or 3 lines that said a whole lot, I just learned from that Stevie school. That's it. That's how so I don't it's not about which comes first, the tracks, the lyrics for me, because sometimes it can be either or. But when you get, like I said about right here, the hook came to me before the music, but I had to go make that music match what I was feeling with the hook. Same thing with Rain. The hook came to me first before the music, but before I don't want to get ahead of. But maybe this is a good time.
Yeah.
I want you to play the I'm So Into You joint, because I think what we talked about production wise is important. I don't want to overgloss that, because that was a pivotal switch from what had been happening before to me saying, okay, maybe we can do something different. And so having Coco's and the girls' harmonies be so pivotal to that song. For example, the pre-chorus, so fun, that helped blow my mind. Thing with those kinds of things that make you go, you know what? The pre-chorus is as important as the chorus when you're talking about that kind of stuff. And certainly the background vocals are pivotal and key to those things sticking in your mind, right? So maybe it's a good time to play I'm So Into You. I don't know.
We're gonna. In fact, that was the next song I was gonna. Well,
I figured it was. I don't want to get too far ahead of it.
Actually, I'm gonna play a song prior bit before that. And
oh, really?
Yeah. But before we get to that, right?
Okay.
Get too far ahead, right? Now, this was the first single, okay, from the album, right?
You already played the first single. You played Right Here. This is the first single.
No, that's what I'm talking about, right here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We're still right here. Still right here.
Still right here. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So this was the first single, and it didn't do, compared to the other singles that you did for this song, it didn't do that commercially well, right?
Right.
Now, so at this point, the single came out before the album, right? So as you can see how commercially it's doing, like what was going through your mind and the girl and the SWV, like, were you guys worried, like, oh, like what's gonna happen?
That's a great question. I was terrified. Are you kidding me? I was like, oh my God, we led with this New Jack Swing sounding joint and it ain't happening. Like I was like, this ain't happening. And then TLC was huge at that exact moment, changing their image into this sexy, cool thing. And I'm like, uh-oh, we're done. I just thought it was over. I really did. I didn't think it was going to happen. And I did not know that I'm So Into You would catch on with the white kids like it did. So that's what set it apart. Like I'm So Into You was pop and we didn't know it. As black as I'm So Into You is, it had something in it that appealed to white teenage girls. And we found that out through the numbers and how it started reacting around the country.
So why? Okay, so I just want to ask you a bit about the rationale goes behind choosing the lead single. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is the lead single supposed to be the best single that you guys will think would do commercially well, or what's
no?
Okay, go ahead.
It's introductory because you don't want to come with your best thing because then what else do you come with after that?
Right. Okay.
So it's just an introduction to whatever the sound is. And in this case, it's Coco's voice and them girls with them harmonies. It's SWV, sisters with voices. It's their sound that needed to be established with Right Here.
Okay, so it was okay. So who's I assume it was the A&R that
Kenny Ortiz. That's Kenny Ortiz, for sure.
Oh, okay. So then what was I gonna say? So I got so many things I want to ask you. I'll make sure I don't forget. All right, okay. So of course there was a remix that was done to this song. That was the song I was gonna play before we got on to.
Oh, I got you. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I'm So Into You. Although chronologically it doesn't work because it came the
a couple years later. It's like 94, yeah. Because yeah.
But I thought it makes sense since we're talking about the song. Let's talk about the remix. So I'll play. Everyone knows that the Michael Jackson sample. I'll just play it quickly.